He's going to be talking about transferring volunteer management with Monday.com CRM. And get ready, buckle up. He talks a little fast, but you can understand what he's saying. He talks fast because he's passionate about it. So, Alex is the nonprofit success manager. So he's successful at doing this. Alex, over to you. Thank you for being here. I love it when you're here. So take it away.
Thanks, Aretha. I'll try and slow down. But she's right. I'm really passionate about the work that I do, and there's a lot of cool things to say. So, buckle up, as she said, and the session's being recorded. So if you miss anything, you can always go back and watch it again. So yeah, thank you very much, Aretha, for your introduction. Thank you to the whole TechSoup team for having us. We love working with you all. And thank you everybody for joining me. I know that you're very busy people doing a lot of amazing things out there. So giving us an hour of your time is much appreciated, and I'm sure we're going to be able to pay you back. This is an investment and definitely a good one. So today's session is called Transforming Volunteer Management with Monday.com's CRM. We have 1 hour together today, which is not a lot of time. There's a lot of stuff we can talk about and see. But my aim is to give you a little taste of what is possible with Monday.com. It's an amazing platform. Our offering for nonprofits is pretty special as well. In one word, it's free. And I think that the volunteer management use case is a really nice one with Monday. There's so much you can do on Monday.com. It's not only a volunteer management solution, but volunteer management works really, really well on the platform. And just in general, I think people who manage volunteers are the best people. I love everything about the volunteer side of nonprofits. I think it gets to the core of everything that's good about nonprofits because it shows where people really have passion. They're giving you the most precious thing they have, which is their time. Donors are great too, but there's a lot of ways you can make money. No one's figured out a way to get more time, so volunteers, I think, deserve to be treated with as much kind of respect, but also kind of efficiency and organization as possible. And if you can get a system like Monday.com behind you to back you up, it's the best way to repay your volunteers. So I'll do a very quick introduction first, and then I'll talk a little bit more about Monday, and then we'll dive into the platform. So yeah, it is great to meet you all. My name is Alexander or Alex. My title, Nonprofit Success Manager. What does that really mean? It means that my job is to help nonprofits who are on Monday.com get as much out of the platform as possible. We currently have 27,000 active nonprofits. Most of them pay nada, $0 for that access, about 80%. There's about 20% of them who are paying for discounted seats and a few extra pieces here and there, maybe AI credits and that kind of thing. But most pay absolutely nothing. And yeah, they may be using it for all sorts of different things, but volunteer management is a very common use case. I've been doing this job for about 4 years. Most of what I'm doing are these kind of big scalable trainings, as well as the ones we're doing for TechSoup. We also have some of our own, which, once you've opened your account, you'll be welcome to join. And as well as doing those scalable trainings, I have also led more in-depth implementations for some of the big brand names you can see on screen. And a fun fact about me, for those of you who haven't joined me on a session before, you might like to know that I used to be a tour guide. So if I've guided in a few places, but if you're planning a weekend away in Paris or Barcelona, let me know. We can talk about that afterwards as well. Cool. More than enough about me. Now to Monday.com and what it is that we offer for nonprofits. So there's a couple of cool announcements that I'm here to make today. The first one is that our multi-product suite is now free for nonprofits. What does that mean? Well, until a few years ago, Monday.com was a one product company, meaning what did Monday.com make? It made Monday.com. That was it. It was a task and project management tool. But in the last few years, for pretty obvious business reasons, they have launched different products which are a bit more specialized. And we're very excited to be able to offer 10 free seats on each of these four core products. Now, you might think, what the heck do I have to do with these other products? How are they going to help me on my nonprofit? Well, the one that we're going to be talking about today is Monday's CRM. And while Monday CRM was designed really with salespeople in mind, right, for being able to convert leads into deals and process your sales targets, it still has a lot of really cool features that are very, very useful for relating to any kind of person. So anytime you want to manage any kind of person on Monday.com, whether it is a volunteer or a beneficiary or a donor or a grant provider or whatever, use Monday CRM. You get 10 free seats there as well. By the way, they can be 10 people who are the same or different. So, arguably you get 40 free seats on Monday.com, which is pretty cool. And all those features that were designed for contacting, leads, you can use to contact volunteers as well. And I'm going to show you all how to do that. And before we jump into the platform, how do you get started? Well, it's a two-step process, very simple each step. The first step is to open your account. And Aretha and Haley and the folks from TechSoup will be sharing a link that you can click right now or at any point to open your account. Now, everybody, when they open their account, will get a 2-week free trial. After that, most people, if they're coming from a company, will have to pick a paid plan. They'll choose from a few different tiers and how much they're prepared to pay, what services and features they want to get, and then get out the credit card. However, if you're a nonprofit, you can apply to join the nonprofit program. You can do that at monday.com/nonprofits/eligibility. Really easy to find. And with just a few simple questions, you can apply to join us and get this amazing deal. 10 free seats, plus a discount off extras on all 4 core products. And this will, take you to amazing places as a nonprofit without even getting your credit card out. So now that you know how to do it, let me show why you should do it. We're going to leave my slideshow now and come into monday.com's CRM, and I'll show you just some of the cool things you can do with volunteer management. Now, at this point, if anybody has any questions, please feel free. The best place really to drop questions is in the Q&A section. I'm going to do my best to answer all of your questions there, but also keep in mind that we do have a dedicated Q&A session exclusively for folks coming to us from TechSoup next week. So if there are any questions that remain unanswered, I'll give you some resources and stuff, but you can also join me next week if you want to ask more in-depth questions as well. Amazing. So welcome to Monday's CRM. You can see up in the top right-hand side, these 9 dots where you can switch between the 4 core products. And they're all built on top of the same infrastructure. So it's really seamless to move between them. But as I said, if you're managing people, I would recommend working in the CRM. And when it comes to managing volunteers, there's a couple of different ways that you could get started. When you click on this big plus here, it's where you add something new to this workspace, my volunteer management workspace. And you'll see that you could come down here to board, and you could build a brand new board of your own and just build everything out from scratch. That's perfectly doable. You could also use Monday's new AI features to design a board for you. Also perfectly doable. Or you can come down here to the template center, and you can see in the recommended section, it's pretty smart. It's already giving me the offer of downloading our pre-built volunteer registration management template. It's a great way to get started. By the way, if volunteer management isn't your specific focus right now, that's okay. There are tons of other things you can do on Monday and tons of other templates you can use as well. All of these template categories you can see on the left-hand side are available to you on the nonprofit program as well. So maybe you also just want to manage some projects, come to project management, and you can see dozens of cool templates that you can download and check out. They're all available for free. Download them as many times as you want. Make changes to them, whatever you need to do. But yeah, this is the one we're going to be starting off with today. You can see it's been downloaded by almost 34,000 people, which is a pretty good sign. And I'm going to click here on Use Template to download this into my account. Now, as soon as it's downloaded, you're going to see some made up data, right? There's going to be some names of people. They're not real volunteers. They're just kind of dummy placeholders. We can change pretty much everything you see here right away. And any data that you put into Monday is secure. I want to make that very clear. Monday.com doesn't own your data. It's merely processing your data. It's not like most social media networks where, you upload a photo and they can do whatever they want with it. We can't even see this data. Like if I log into our backend system, I can see some like high-level statistics about who's done what in your account and who are the most active users and that kind of thing. But I cannot read the name Leilani Krause. That's invisible to me. If I'm a Monday staff member or developer or something, your data is yours and it is completely safe. Same thing, by the way, if you use some of the AI features in Monday. The AI companies that we're working with, all the big ones, Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini, they are only processing your data as well. They don't own it. They can't train their models on it. It's a big deal for us to make sure that people are feeling safe about their data. We have 27,000 nonprofits, but also more than 250,000 paying customers who are giving us a lot of trust with their data. I think it's 60% of the Fortune 500 use Monday.com. So, there's some serious data in there, and it's top priority for us to keep it safe, so you can rest assured. So this is the solution that we've got straight out of the box, and you'll see that it's currently showing 3 groups: new volunteers, active volunteers, and past volunteers. But that's completely customizable, right? If you come down here to add new group, you can add another one, maybe for like volunteers in training. Okay, and if you want to reorder this, just drag it over here and whack it in the middle. Really simple. If you want to delete one of these groups, come to the 3 dots and delete. I think this is one of the things that sets Monday apart from our competitors. It's so flexible. It's really easy to customize. I won't name names, but there's a lot of software out there where the column is the column and it's got to be inputted a certain way. If you want to change something around here, you're totally able to do that. Want to give it a new name? Sure thing, no problem. Want to move it to a new place? Not a problem. You want to delete a column? No problem. Everything pretty much you can see here can be customized. So the first columns you'll see here are pretty straightforward, yeah? The status here tracks which group they belong to, what's their status, I suppose. The supervisor column, this is where you'll see the people that you have invited to your account. So you can assign, for example, Sarah as Leilani's supervisor, or as it was before, volunteer manager. And this is where you'll see the 10 free people that you've invited to your account. You can do that by clicking here, and they can then upload their pictures and collaborate with you on all sorts of different boards. Email, phone number, address, all that stuff is pretty straightforward, I guess, but all important to say, very customizable. If there's something else that you want to add here that doesn't exist, maybe you want to know your volunteers' birthdays. If you've got that data, well, let's add a new date column, and I'll call it birthday. And I can whack in their date of birth, and maybe I'll send them all a happy birthday note. It's not a game changer, but it could be something which helps build a bit of rapport with your volunteers. If you've got data fields about your volunteers, put it in. Now, what I'm doing so far is entering that data myself, right? Coming here, entering in a new volunteer. That's, of course, perfectly doable, but it's probably not the most common way that you're going to be working in the system. I imagine that many of you are already working with volunteers some way, somehow. Maybe it's pen and paper or just in spreadsheets. Maybe you've got a different software. What you can do, as long as it's digital somehow, is upload data to Monday. Really easy. Instead of clicking on new item, just to manually create a new item, you can click on the little triangle here and import items. So if you've got a CSV or Excel file, you can browse, click the file, and then bring that data into Monday. All you need to do basically is map the column. So if you've got a file in your spreadsheet called a volunteer's name, you say to the system, put that information in the column called item. If you've got a column called volunteers email, put that information in the column called email. Really, really simple. And by the way, you don't have to use a template like this at all. If you've already got a solution in a spreadsheet that you like, what you can do instead is come back to the beginning. Remember we clicked on this plus to download the template? Well, if you come down here to more, you can also import data here. And by importing data here, you can import from more sources. Sorry, that's a bit cut off there, but you get the idea. And you can import directly from other project management software or from a spreadsheet. And then what it will do is create for you a brand new board based on your existing columns. So it's up to you, whether you've got something you've already built or a template and you want to put stuff into it, or you want to just build something from scratch based on your existing template. Here or here. The third way, though, and probably the most exciting way that you can bring data in, is by using Monday's forms. Now, forms are another thing which is free and unlimited on Monday.com's nonprofit plan. You can have as many forms as you like to collect information from any kind of person about any kind of thing. Here we've got a form added as a view to our main volunteer table, meaning each one of these columns is going to correspond with a question on the form. So you can share this with people externally using public links, and they can then fill out the form and the data will arrive directly into Monday. So it's a big advantage from, a simple Google form or something, where then that data is sort of stuck. Here, that data is directly arriving, and you can then process the volunteers, mark them as in training, contact them, automate things. It can all be done as soon as the information has arrived. And all of this, as you can probably guess, is customizable. And we can come here to edit form and we can beautify this thing. At the moment, it's just black on white, but you can add here a logo of your organization, change the formatting, you can change the coloring and put up a background image. If you're recruiting volunteers to clean up your local beach, I would suggest a nice idea would be to put an image in the background of people, scooping trash into bags and wearing masks and stuff and gloves. That would inspire me as a volunteer and be a nice thing you could upload. You can also change the way it's designed in terms of the alignment, all sorts of things. Of course, the questions themselves can also be customized. So here you can see, for example, some questions have the little red asterisk. That means that they are required questions. You can even have questions which are hidden. So volunteer start date. That's a bit of information that I've got on my board. That's not something which I'm asking my volunteers to fill out. That's something which is done after the information's arrived. And on the form, that technically does exist because every column will correspond with a question on the board. But you can see here the little icon with the line through the eye shows me that this question is hidden. So the volunteers won't be asked to fill this question. They won't even know it's there. And how can this form be shared? Well, the most basic way is with a link. Every single form on Monday comes with its own unique link. You can make that a bit shorter if you want to share this in, Facebook groups or like a WhatsApp chat or something. It makes it a bit easier to read. But you can also do this in more clever ways. If you come to the drop down here, you can see you can directly share it on social media. That might be an interesting new way to recruit volunteers. You can also embed it in your website. This is really easy to do. You don't need to be like a computer programmer. It's literally just copy and paste, and it will then sit inside the frame of your website. Maybe you've got a volunteer with us page in your website, and when people click there, they'll still see, your headers and your framing, but in the middle will be this form, which can be customized with the color and the brand and the form's font so that it really matches and feels natural for your users. And the nice thing about that is that once they filled out the form, they're still in your website. Maybe they'll then click on your donate page. Maybe they'll browse a little bit more rather than taking them away to Monday and kind of losing that person that you've worked hard to get to your website. Embedding it can be really nice. But my absolute favorite way of sharing it is by using the QR code. Every single form on Monday automatically comes with a free unique QR code. And these obviously can be used in so many different ways. It's kind of my go-to example, but there's an organization who was helping with homelessness, and they they printed these out, a bit old school, cut them out, put them onto flyers and posters that they stuck around the neighborhood saying, you want to help people out, you're concerned about poverty in our neighborhood, scan the QR code and join us next week, right? And people were able to scan these things and show their interest. And these were people that the organization had no idea were even interested in this cause, right? They weren't able to reach them any other way. But the QR code enables people who are just passers-by to get involved, which is really nice. And again, really easy to share, just copy and paste it, and people can start filling out these forms. Great. One last word about forms, and that is you may be using forms for all sorts of things. Recruiting volunteers, of course, is the main example, but maybe you're using it for volunteer feedback. Maybe you're using it for volunteers to express interest in a certain project or request a certain type of work, right? You can have multiple layers of forms. You can also add different settings here. So you can set closing dates or limits to how many you can receive. Maybe you only want 10 volunteers for a certain project. Tell them once it gets to 10, I don't want to receive any more. No problem. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with these forms, track where they've come from, enable passwords. I won't give every single example. Suffice it to say, they're pretty cool, very flexible, and they can really, yeah, take your recruitment and management of volunteers to the next level. Amazing. So that's a very quick look at this template. And this is a great template, especially if you're just getting started on Monday. But if you're maybe a little bit more of an advanced user and or you've got just a more complex use case when it comes to managing volunteers, I felt like this maybe wasn't quite robust enough. And so I actually built a more advanced template, which I've also made available to everyone who wants it for free. It's not found in the same place. It's not found here in the template center. It's found in another resource that we've put together called Monday Spaces. MondaySpaces.com is where you'll find tons and tons of templates made by any user. And there's, again, lots of categories here, all available for free. And I've put a couple of templates up here for nonprofits, but other people have too. So if you need to manage your team morale, or you sponsor children, or you manage an animal shelter, there's cool templates here. Check them out. And the one that I also show you briefly is this one, the complete volunteer management solution. I've already downloaded it and it lives here. Like here's one I prepared earlier. You can see it's got a lot more meat to it. Okay, I've got more groups, first of all. I've got more kind of levels of subtlety in terms of who I'm recruiting and what data I'm keeping about them. But where things get really interesting with this version is that I've connected this database to other boards. So when you get over here to the right-hand side, you can see these columns are pulling data from elsewhere. So this is where you can, for example, allocate work to your volunteers. In this template, I made up an organization where volunteers can teach science to school kids in the weekends or after school. So what I've got here is a separate board. Remember, there's no limit to the number of boards you can have in Monday.com's nonprofit program. A separate board where every single piece of work that I've got is listed as an item, some basic information about that work. And then in this column, this is where the magic happens. This is a connect board column. So I connect the item, chemistry and practice, to the volunteer who's going to be taking this course. Let's say Marie Curie. And now her name appears here, and it's a two-way connection. So Marie Curie over here, we should now see chemistry and practice appear in her work allocation. And I've done the same thing for other bits of work as well. So we have, oh, by the way, there's also an automation active on this board. There's in fact 5 automations already built for you in this solution, which said when a piece of work has been allocated, move the volunteer. She used to be here in this group, approved volunteer waiting assignment. She's now moved down to this group and her current status has changed to active. That was automatic. As soon as that work was assigned, she dropped down to this group. But we also have a couple of other boards as well, which follow the same basic structure. We all know that managing volunteers, giving them the work is not the same thing as confirming they've done the work. So while on this board we're tracking the work that's been allocated, on this board we're able to track the work that the volunteers have actually done. So they can fill out a separate form, which you can share with your volunteers automatically after each completion date. They can then just give you some basic info of, what kind of work they did, how many hours it was. And let's fill one out now. I'll do one for Marie Curie, let's say. Put in today's date. Let's say I did a remote class of biology. It was a 2-hour class. Whoops. Two-hour class. And I enter in Marie's email address and submit the form. Now, again, Marie does not need to know what Monday is. You don't need to invite all your volunteers into Monday if you don't want to. They can do this completely externally just by filling out forms. Take a look at the main table and we should see a new piece of work has been submitted. It's automatically set it to the correct group. It's put the remote work into the remote work group. And it's automatically realized that this bit of work belongs to a volunteer who's already in our database. Did you see? It was very quick, but it automatically displayed Marie Curie's name here. This is the connection between this little bit of work she's done, her 2 hours, to Marie, the volunteer in my database. The more basic one has in a much more basic style is reporting. Here we have our volunteer dashboard. And dashboards in Monday.com's nonprofit program are free and unlimited. And what they do basically is allow you to report. So this dashboard is connected, here you can see, to 3 other boards, the 3 boards in the template. But once you've downloaded this, if you want to connect another board to it, no problem. Maybe you want to use the volunteer database from the other template. Well, just check the box and it's now added as well. No problem. You want to deselect something, same process. And then basically once those boards are connected, all of these charts and graphs and maps are showing in a visual way the information that I've got in my database. And it might be really helpful for you, especially if you have a lot of volunteers, to visualize that stuff. You probably know roughly who your volunteers are and how good they are at different things. But being able to see it in a graph in real time might be very, very impactful. Maybe if you see at which stage your volunteers are, you might realize that, I don't know, you're really good at recruiting volunteers, but you're too slow at training them. So you need to maybe shift resources there. And maybe looking at this graph, I know that I'm not going to launch a biology course next month, and instead a physics class. Or maybe I will spend time trying to recruit some new volunteer biology teachers. Same thing with the age spread. Maybe you want to recruit older people because there's a bit of a gap here and older people have more experience, or the opposite, I don't know. And this one's really nice, getting a map where you can visualize where your volunteers live. It doesn't make sense to launch a program in Lithgow or Bathurst when all your volunteers live over here in the east part of town. And you can really clearly see that, even if you know roughly where your volunteers live, a map like this can be really, really priceless. And all of these widgets update automatically. They're pulling from whatever information is in the boards. So let's just do something a bit crazy. Let's add a new volunteer here. Call him John Smith. And you can see an automation, by the way, running in the background. It's automatically setting his submission date to today. That's a nice little bonus that you don't need to do yourself or have your volunteers do. Let's set John's birthday to like 1900 or something, really old. 1st of June 1900. He's 126 years old. As soon as I've entered that information, or even if John's done it himself in the form, he will appear in the dashboard. We should now see, there we go, a big outlier in this graph. And if I add, let's say he lives in Lithgow, you'll see that appear in the map instantly as well, without me lifting another finger. There we go. A dot has appeared in Lithgow, which is pretty cool. Now this solution, as I said, is available to you for free. We also have more information to help you out if you get stuck with using it here in the Learning Center. But I also do a full dedicated course, 2 parts over 2 weeks, just for nonprofits around managing volunteers. So if you do want to join us on the nonprofit program and you feel like you need a little bit of extra help, we're here to give you a hand. You're not out there on your own. You've got a template, you've got the course, and yeah, we're here to help you every step of the way. Now, I want to show you a couple of CRM specific features next, because everything we've done so far would have been possible on the regular Monday as well. But here on the CRM, we have a couple of special features which are only available on this product. If I click, for example, on the little speech bubble here next to Ada's name, I have the emails and activities widget. And that allows me to click here on new email, and a one-time integration can be set up between your account in Monday and either Gmail or Outlook. By one time, I mean you only need to set it up one time. There's no limit to how many emails you can send this way. And you can actually communicate with your volunteers from right here. And that wouldn't be possible in quite the same way in the old Monday, but in the CRM, it is. It's already put in Ada's email, and we can then write to an email just as we would any other person about any other topic. So I can say, welcome to our org. Hi, Ada. Welcome to volunteering with kids, teaching them science. Maybe my organization needs to work on its branding. I'm not sure that's the most catchy name for an organization. And you can write to Ada, send her an email. Now, of course, we want to make things as efficient as possible. So although I've written here an individual email to Ada, we could save this as a template. Here, you have the option to save this as a template. And if I wanted to save it as a template, I wouldn't want it to always say, hi, Ada, right? Instead, I wanted to pull information dynamically from the board. So I could say something like, hi, name, and it will plug in Ada's name if it's going to Ada, or Rosalind's name if it's going to Rosalind, or Nicola's name if it's going to Nicola. Okay, and any field in the board is like that. You've been with us since volunteer initial submission date. Your current status is, right? You can put in whatever you need to here. Now, you can also track this email, and that's really valuable. You can't usually do that on Gmail or Outlook, at least not the free versions. Up here in the top left, you can track the mass emails that you've sent. Okay, I've only just sent this one to I mean, most of mine have failed because I'm sending a lot of tests and stuff. But here you can track bigger campaigns and see the open rate, click rate, and really build up this like vision of what your emails are actually getting across. And if you're maybe sending out a bigger campaign to many volunteers, you can batch select volunteers like so. You could even turn on filters. So let's actually turn that off. Let's say I only want to see volunteers who can teach the subject chemistry and are currently active or waiting assignment. Okay, and then I'm going to select all of the volunteers in this group. At the moment, I've got 3, but I could have 300. And then I can send a mass email to these 3 people. They will not see that it's gone to anyone else. It'll look like a completely unique email coming to them. And thanks for teaching chemistry. Hi, name, right? Same process, and send. All these people will get an email. This will be tracked not only here in Monday on an individual basis, it'll also be tracked in Monday on a mass basis, and it will also appear in my regular Gmail inbox and outbox. If somebody replies to this email, it will automatically appear here as well. So you can get that full thread of communication with your volunteers in this one place if you need to. Let's see if this is tracked here. There we go. There's a mass campaign. It's been sent to 3 people. Most of them have failed because it's they're not real email addresses, but you can start to like see maybe I should tweak the wording of this email. I'll get a better result if I change it, for example. And if you come to look at who was one of the emails that we sent, Nicola here. Yeah. Oh, perfect. You can see the email that we sent to Nicola, but we also see here the reply. I mean, it's not a real reply because it's a reply from from bouncing back from it not being a real email address. But if he had replied, we would see it here as well. And all of those features are things that you need to pay extra for usually, but are included for free in Monday.com's nonprofit program. This is the benefit of working on the CRM, which is pretty cool. Now, there are other bits and pieces on the CRM that we could go into, but I think what I'll do now is shift track a little bit and just show you a couple of brand new AI features because the AI stuff Monday is doing is pretty incredible. AI is brand new. You can see a couple of different AI products Monday is launching here. AI is not completely free for nonprofits, but it does come for evermore with a 33% discount, which is pretty nice. And we also are giving away 6,000 free credits to new accounts between now and the 6th of July. So there's another incentive to get started now and play around with it, test out those free credits. Basically, all these AI actions over here will be paid for with credits. And some of the things you can do on AI is mind blowing. And think of it as an investment because it can save you so much time, effort, and actually money as well. Even though they may cost, it's a real game changer. So let me give you a couple of examples. Here is a Monday.com AI native agent. You may have heard of agents. Agents are a lot more powerful AI tools than an AI chat, right? If you're used to talking to Claude or ChatGPT, agents are the next step above that. These agents live in Monday and they can operate autonomously. You can train them to do things and then they will work on their own. I mean, with the guardrails that you've set, but they can work on their own. They'll learn, they'll get better. Think of an agent as a new junior staff member who never needs to sleep, who never needs to take a break, who never needs to eat, never takes a vacation, and can do things that humans just never could. There are, of course, some things that they can't do. They're not here to replace humans. The human touch will always be needed. But what Ruby, for example, has been trained to do, here's the prompt I first gave her, is to analyze the work that needs assigning in the volunteer workboard against the list of available volunteers in the database. This is the conversation I had with her, running some tests, checking out how it worked. And this is the instructions that she took away from our conversation. So she is going to assign each work item in the volunteer courses for immigrants and job seekers board to the most appropriate volunteer in the volunteer dashboard. What she does is she's going to look to see everybody's availability, everybody's preferences, everybody's skills, and when they last worked, any feature that you want to teach her, you can teach her. And she'll weigh it all up and assign the most appropriate volunteer. This is a piece of work that might take a normal human hours and hours and may actually not get very good results, right? It's going to eliminate you being asked by your volunteers, oh, but I wanted to do the afternoon shift. Why does Jane always get the morning? I want to work. I'm sure there's many people out there in the call today who can relate to this. The volunteer assignment agent can take that load off you. They'll also make sure it's fair. If you teach them, make sure every volunteer gets one piece of work per week, that's what they'll do. If you teach them, don't assign a volunteer who worked on a Monday morning, work on a Tuesday morning, because like whatever features you need to teach, you can teach. As we scroll down her instructions, you'll see the rules. Some of these things we added after we began working because we realized there were some gaps. Like here, we said, make sure you only assign volunteers who are available for the full duration. Because I found that sometimes when she started working, she would look to see if someone was available on the start date, assign them the work, and then wouldn't continue. And in a way, that's the sort of mistake that a junior staff member might make as well. And, as long as you teach them, give them those rules, they can learn and avoid making them in the future. And we gave her access to these two Monday boards. This one, the list of courses, she has full access. She can read everything there. In the volunteer database, she's only a viewer. And you can choose exactly what she can see and what she can do. She can also, if you give her the abilities, search the web. Now, this is really cool. You can ask her, for example, only recruit will only allocate Jane on days when it's not rainy outside because Jane hates working in the rain. Check to see the weather in the place where the volunteer is supposed to be working, and she can check the web for these kind of things as well. Now, of course, the more complex the instructions are, the more prone to making the odd mistake she is, and the more it will cost. But that being said, she can do it really amazing, amazing things. And if you ask me, these agents are going to be an absolute game changer for nonprofits. When you're on a tight budget, you can get so much more out of the staff you do have if they build these dedicated experts into these very time-consuming, kind of frustrating parts of their work. And because it's all on Monday, it's operating on top of a system that you know and trust. I know there are a lot of kind of cowboy AI outfits out there, and which don't have the security and privacy permissions in place that you can really rely on with Monday. As I said before, we work with lots of different AI models. You can choose actually which one you want to use. Some of them will have, pros and cons. They might be more powerful but cost more. So you can pick and choose which one you want to use here. And again, none of these will ever own your data or be able to train on your data. They're just processing it for you. So that's a very quick look at an AI agent. I'll show you one more AI feature and then we'll maybe take some questions because I can see a lot of chat going on down beneath my screen. The next AI feature I want to show you is Monday Vibe. And you may have heard of vibe coding. Vibe coding basically allows you to build your own software, website without being a developer. You do not need to write code to vibe code. You can write in real, normal spoken English. Hey, I want to build a portal for my volunteers to see the opportunities that I have available to them. We go back to that previous example. We teach science to high school kids, and I want them to be able to pick from the courses that are available. Now, they could have been given access to your Monday board. You could share that with them publicly, or you could invite them in as full members, or you could give them guest access. But maybe you want them to have a more interactive portal to make these decisions. I built this vibe in the space of a couple of minutes. I just asked it what to do. I said, build this way, build that way, and it will include the information on my boards. And if something changes in the board, it can automatically change here in my vibe. Now, again, a simple task, much more likely to be successful than a super complicated task. So break them down and go step by step. A simple task will take less credits than a more complicated task. So be strategic about the way you build out your vibes. Some things here, for example, the vibe was really, really good at, right? Building out this layout and bringing stuff from Monday, super easy. I then asked it to show pictures of high school kids doing science. You might think that's quite an easy thing. Well, I kept on putting in pictures of, men with beards and women with gray hair. The AI is not perfect and it's getting better all the time. But some of those things could maybe be done in other ways. It's up to you. But I just wanted to point out that there's a lot of ways to get things done here. And ultimately, building out a completely customized bit of software that might cost thousands and take months can now be done just by you, one person in one afternoon. And that is an absolute game changer in the world of software. And I think can be like I said before, really positive tool for nonprofits. So we're just sort of scratching the surface on some of the AI stuff, but I hope that gives you a little bit of a buzz about what is possible. And I can see, like I said, questions coming in at a great rate of knots. So I think what we'll do for the last 15 minutes or so of today's session is try and answer your questions, try and answer all of them. Like I said, we may not get to every single one, but I will do my best, and I want to try and cover as much as we possibly can. Okay, cool. So Mark at the very beginning asked about forms. I think we probably did cover forms well enough. So I'll mark that one as done, Mark. But if you do have other questions around forms specifically, let me know. Linda asks, does the volunteer board have to be a primary workspace? I was thinking have a contacts as the workspace with boards within that workspace called volunteers, donors, vendors, etc. Absolutely. Linda, you can definitely do that, and you can really build that however you want to, right? Here is my workspace. You can see I've got other workspaces there, but I can come in here and manage this. I can change the name of it, and that's a really good idea. Having one workspace for your people, and then within that, a board for different levels of people. Absolutely. Yep, not a problem at all. Okay, Franz, how are you doing? Are there templates to transfer entire lists? Yes, there are definitely ways that you can upload. We did cover that, and maybe you asked the question before I covered it, but just as a reminder, you can bring into an existing template by coming here and import, or you can create a brand new board based off your data by coming down here to import data. Can volunteers be tagged to more than one group? That came from Anne. So in an absolute sense, not really, right? A group is a group. They can only be in one group at a time. But you can group them by different things. So if you change your mind or you want to see things in a different way, at the moment I'm looking at my volunteers by their status. But maybe I now want to see my volunteers by, what's a good example here? Maybe their, would this work? Would their age work? I'm not sure this is the best example. Yeah, okay, now they're grouped by how old they are. It's not really that convenient. What would be another example that might work? Their initial submission date. Yeah, that's maybe more logical. Today, past dates. Maybe that's better. Here's a system default where you can change that. A classic example would be maybe you've got volunteers who've got different statuses, but then you also want to track by where they can work. And yes, you could do that then by group by, and you can then save this as a new view. So here we can see the tables that we've worked with so far. And this one is now, if I rename it, my volunteer, whoops, come here to rename it. It is now volunteers by start date. You get the idea. Whatever, I'm not going to bother to change that. But things can only be in one group at a time, but you can group by different things. So yeah, not a problem. Linda, do you have to have the person column, the one you labeled supervisor? I tried without success to delete it. Yeah, you absolutely can delete it. And the only column you can't delete is the first column. There must be a first column. That's what kind of gives everything its identity. But yeah, you can add and subtract every other column that you've got here. If I, well, let's return to the exact example that you mentioned. Volunteer registration and volunteer manager. If I come here to the three dots, just scroll down and delete. Right, that should work. I don't know if it didn't work for you for some reason, but yeah, from a high level, yes, it absolutely can work. Okay, Mark asks, can you send mass emails from Monday without a third-party add-on? So again, we did cover that probably after the question was asked, but you do need to connect it to a third party. Gmail was the example I showed, but Outlook as well. But they're not really kind of third-party add-ons because they're not paid software, right? Gmail and Outlook are completely free, so you do need to connect them, but you don't have to pay anything for those software. Those were the Gmail I used was the regular free Gmail. If you do want to integrate Monday with other types of software, you can come up here to the integration center, and let's just go back out of this one. You can see all the different yeah, integrations. All the different software that we've already built integrations with. So I know this is kind of the opposite of your question, but if you do have a paid email tool like a MailChimp or a HubSpot or something and you want to integrate them, you can. We have integrations here that we've built, that we provide, that we support, all for free. Right? The other software may cost, but to connect it, you simply plug in using a recipe that you've got from here. So I don't know, Slack, maybe you're communicating with your team members. You might have to pay for Slack, but you can integrate Monday with Slack for free. So you can say, for example, when a date arrives in Monday, notify someone in a Slack channel. And the same logic applies for just about any of these integrations. But yeah, again, you can send emails without paying anything. You just need to integrate it with a free tool like a Gmail. Rochelle, love that question. Can I move a board from my regular Monday.com account into the CRM? Yes, you can. I'm really glad you asked that because I haven't shown that yet. It's very easy to do. Moving boards between products is just as easy as moving them between folders or workspaces. Just come to the three dots, and here I've got the three dots of this folder. So it's going to count everything inside the folder as well. I just come down here to move to, can move it to a new folder, move it to a new workspace, or move it to a new product. The click of a button, it'll move to regular Monday, or in your case, the opposite, move it to the CRM. And then any features that are available on that unique product will become available on that board. And you can move stuff back and forth as often as you want to. It's really easy. So yeah, if you've already started managing volunteers and you didn't know about the 10 free seats on the CRM, no problem. Open the CRM, move that stuff over. Everything will look the same, except you'll have those added features like the ability to send mass emails, for example. So yeah, definitely possible, Rochelle, and great question. Okay, next question. Like this one too. Can a form send out an auto response after someone fills it out? Yes, it can. How do we do that? Let's do it on my volunteer database template. Automations live here. A little robot icon. You can see there's 5 already turned on and active and ready to go that we've built for you, but you can turn them off, you can delete them, you can change them, or you can add your own. You get on the nonprofit program 25,000 automation runs every single month for free. So if you can automate it, it's the best way to do it, right? This is not the same as AI. This is just a regular old automation. The automation that Mark asked about was sending a feedback, or sorry, follow-up email after a response has been submitted. To do that, we need to choose what the trigger for this automation would be. And then the action is pretty obviously going to be send a follow-up email. I think the trigger should be when an item is created. Because every time someone fills out a form, it's going to create a new item in your board. So here, again, we can choose Gmail or Outlook to send emails, or other email providers. We'll choose which email account we want to send it from. Here are the 2 that I've already synced with my account, but I can add more, and it's a really simple process. Just put in your username and password once, and you're good to go. And then, what do you want the email to say? Again, you can pull fields from the board. So I can say, hi, and where is it? Oh, item name. Hi, thanks, item name, for volunteering with us, blah, blah, blah. You can attach things to it as well. If you want to give them like a volunteer packet, you can pull in information from the board. And then who are we going to send it to? It could be, by the way, someone in your team. Maybe you send an email to the board of trustees every time that a new volunteer registers. You could do that. Or we could say, I just want to send it to an email address. It could be a specific email address, or it could be whichever email address has been provided by the item. And now I've got a 6th automation turned on, active, ready to go. And anytime that the conditions of this trigger have been met, that's to say an item has been created, it'll send out that email to someone. Really easy. Can the email from monday.com have the organization's logo? Great question from Digital Lift. Yes, it can. First of all, it'll have your regular, if you're using Gmail, for example, it'll have your regular email signature at the bottom, no matter what. So you can put anything you like in there and it will appear. But yeah, we can, if we come here to mass email, these emails can be much more sophisticated than I did. You can add a signature. We have somewhere here the button for signature. Where is it? Well, I guess you'd put it into your template, wouldn't you? And you can include pictures and images and formatting, not a problem. The one restriction I would say about that is the automated emails. Automated emails, like we saw there, they do have to be plain text. There's no way to include an image there. Having said that, they will still include your regular Gmail or Outlook signature. So if you have a logo, it will appear there. But if you want to do like a graphic email that you're sending from Monday, it will be done via the mass emails rather than the automation. Okay, and nice question. Can you store waivers in the volunteer record? And the follow-up question, are there record limits? We have 3,000 plus volunteers. So I guess in an absolute sense, no, there is no limit to how many volunteers you can have in monday.com because there's no limit to the number of boards you can have. In any one board, there is a limit of 10,000 items. But if you've got 11,000 volunteers, just have, volunteer database 1, volunteer database 2. That's not a problem. And The other question was, oh, I've already clicked away and I don't remember what it was. I'm terrible. Can I go back and see the previous questions? Let me just check. Can we store waivers in the volunteer record? Yes, yes, you can. So you can do it many different ways, but the way that I've done it is I have a file column. You can upload files here. They could be waivers that come in separately that you collect and you add to the volunteer's record, or they can be things that are submitted directly via the form. If you return to the registration form that I've built in edit form, I have a question which says, please upload any relevant certifications, qualifications, or licenses. Right, you could change this question to please submit your signed waiver form. You could also have just a signature field. Add it to your form. And then we can call this, do you agree to our waiver? See the full text here. You can put in a link. And then when they need to sign on their phone with their finger or their mouse, they can just sign it. And that will then be stored as an image in your database. And if you ever need to pull it for legal reasons or something, it'll be there very clearly who wrote it and when. Very, very cool. Okay, we're getting towards the end of the Q&A session, so I'm going to do my best to get through as many as possible, but I can already see I'm not going to have time to check the questions in the chat. I'm just going through the questions in the Q&A, but keep in mind there are going to be future sessions on this as well. Next week, we have a TechSoup special Q&A session, which is a great resource. I recommend you all join. And one question here comes from James. Is there a library of courses where I can learn how to better use Monday products? I learn best by watching and then doing. So that's maybe a great way to kind of segue into what other resources are there? How can you find answers to your questions? So yes, there are. Is a simple answer for you, James. If you click up here on the question mark icon, you will find support and learn. Here you can, I guess I won't answer your question just yet, James, so hold that thought. Here you can start a chat. It's available 24/7 for free. You can ask as many questions as you want. If you have questions about the platform, all the kind of questions that have just been coming into me, this is the best place to get them answered. First, you'll be dealt with by Tim, our AI-powered support assistant. But Tim is brilliant. Tim is better than a lot of people would be at this job because he has access to everything that's ever been published about Monday. So if you want to know, how many columns can I add in a board, he will know the answer, accurate and up to date for sure. He'll usually provide the answer very quickly with a link maybe to more resources. And if you find that Tim can't help you out and you need to escalate, there we go, to a human, you can ask to escalate any time of day or night, any time zone, to speak to a live human agent. So if you do have further questions and you can't wait for next week's Q&A, I definitely recommend our support. I don't know many software companies that provide human 24/7 live support. We do, even for nonprofits. And if you want courses like the person asked, I would recommend you, well, first of all, you can find them here as well. In Support and Learn, you will find articles and videos to fill your boots. There's also here the Monday Academy with dozens of courses to get the most out of Monday. If you visit monday.com/academy, you can turn on the nonprofit filter and you'll see all the courses that I'm offering. We have courses on managing volunteers, but also around donors and grants and a lot of cool AI stuff coming up. Everything that we provide for nonprofits is available for free. So yeah, you are not alone in this journey. Getting started is very easy, but if you do need extra support, we are here to help on the nonprofit specific stuff. And there's also tons of other great Monday resources available to you as well. Not least our free 24/7 support. Amazing. So I've actually gone 1 minute over time. So I apologize for that. Thank you all very much for joining. It's been a really great session. There were so many cool questions with amazing engagement. I apologize we didn't get to all of them, but I hope now you feel empowered to find the answers on your own or join us next week. And it would be great to see you on future sessions and help your nonprofit have an even greater impact using the platform. So thanks everybody very much. Thanks to TechSoup, and maybe see you again. Bye bye.